Hi, everyone. My name is Michael Stewart, and I am the Director of Education at the OI Foundation. I want to welcome you to today's session, Fitness and OI, as part of the virtual OIF National Conference. Today, we have a few things we want to go over before we jump into today's session. So, first off, we are pleased to offer closed captioning for today's session. If you go to closed captioning at the bottom, you should be able to access it there. Also, please keep in mind that we are muting all attendees, but if for some circumstance your microphone gets unmuted, please mute yourself throughout today's session, so that way we can best hear the presenters and the panelists today and best get the information for everybody. Dogs bark and doors slam shut, and we don't want those distractions. Thank you so much. If you have any questions, please feel free to put them into the chat in Zoom, and we will get to those during the designated Q&A period in the second half of this hour-long session. And we will try to answer as many audience questions as possible. We also had some audience questions come in through registration, so we will be working through those as thoroughly and quickly as we can. Finally, this is a reminder, like with all other OIF virtual national conference sessions, that we cannot practice telemedicine on this session. This means that while our speakers and panelists can provide their personal experience, they can answer questions, they cannot provide direct medical care during this session. And that is important, especially for this session on fitness and OI, which can be so individualized and personalized in particular. So with that being said, I want to quickly thank, let me go to the next slide, our sponsors for the OIF Virtual National Conference, as seen here. And also, finally, I want to introduce Board of Directors member Ted Trahan. Ted, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. My name is Ted Trahan. I am serving as treasurer on the board of directors for the OIF Foundation, and I'd like to welcome everyone to this session on physical fitness. I'd like to introduce the speakers who will be presenting today, as well as our panelists. So first, Beth Jacks. Beth has been a pediatric physical therapist for over 25 years. Practicing in a variety of settings, including hospitals, schools, outpatient centers, and practicing as the owner of her own private practice. Beth has developed expertise with children diagnosed with osteogenesis imperfecta and lectures as an invited speaker at universities and national and international conferences. Beth is also the mother of a 15-year-old daughter who has OI. Tony Jacobsen. Tony is the author of Disable Your Disability, Live the Healthy Life You Deserve. He is also the creator of Fitness, Nutrition, and Wellness for OI Facebook group and the host of the OI Life YouTube channel. After going through his own personal transformation, Tony has made it his mission to help others with OI experience the magic of living a healthier lifestyle. On our panel today, we have Steffi Gonzalez. Steffi is an adult living with osteogenesis imperfecta. She is an adaptive fitness trainer, inclusive model, and a disability advocate. Steffi's mission is to make inclusion and accessibility the new normal and bring awareness to all things adaptive. And Natalie Brosh. Natalie hails from Baltimore, Maryland. She graduated from Immaculata University with a bachelor's of music in music therapy. Natalie worked as a music therapist, and now she teaches piano lessons online while studying German, French, and Latin in preparation for graduate school in medieval history. During the COVID pandemic, she began exploring exercise with OI. Her favorite exercises have been dance workouts and kickboxing. And our third panelist is Greg Trahan. Greg was born and bred in Minnesota. You might note a family resemblance. He attended school at Luther College, where he graduated with a bachelor's in biology and chemistry. He currently works in a lab at the Mayo Clinic, researching potential treatments for OI using virus-mediated gene targeting. This year, Greg took up yoga to maintain health, happiness, and energy to battle the bad guys in Dungeons and Dragons. Greg's OI is type 3/4. And so now I'd like to introduce Beth to kick us off.
Hello, and thank you. I'm gonna share my screen with you. Thanks so much for inviting me today. As already introduced, I'm Beth Jacks, and there's a little picture of my daughter. She has OI. We're not quite sure what the type is, and I'm having trouble changing my slide. Today, I just wanted to go over a little bit about fitness in general and ways to look at fitness that might be able to incorporate with your body type or your body structure, your fragility. And ways to look at fitness more than just like, oh, somebody's picking up these heavy weights or going to the gym. I can't do that. So I want to talk about different types of fitness that you can talk to your physician about. And then go over some benefits of fitness. There's a lot of research out there that shows wonderful benefits from increasing your fitness level. And then some guidelines that have been produced with some guidelines that has come out recently. Can everybody see my screen okay? I'm doing.
Looks good, thank you.
So before you start an exercise program, before you change an exercise program, or if you have any questions about what you're doing, if you don't feel comfortable with what you're doing, or you want to make sure that you're doing things safely, absolutely see your doctor. Before you start, have a complete physical. They're gonna look you up and down, take some blood work, make sure that you're ready to do a good exercise program, as well as give you some guidelines of what you should work on, or how to change your fitness level with any concerns that they see. And I listed some specialists that you could also talk to your physician about, because these are some concerns that people with OI frequently have. So that's just some guidelines of other people that you can talk to your physician about. The other thing is starting an exercise program with a physical therapist or even an occupational therapist. After you work with your physician or your PCP and the medical specialist, you could progress to working with a physical therapist or an occupational therapist, because they really work on functional goals. And I listed some common things that you could tell your physical therapist, this is what I want to work on. They really want a functional goal to start you off on an exercise program, because that's how they gauge their progress. So if you go to a physical therapist and say, I want to get stronger, they're going to want to know, what would you like to do? I also find getting up from the floor is also a really important activity for a lot of people, because that limits your mobility a lot when you're not able to get up from the floor. National Institutes of Health gave some guidelines of different types of exercise: endurance, strength, balance, and flexibility. Talk to your physician about all of those, and we'll talk a little bit about each one. But sometimes we think about working out is like lifting weights, or doing a video workout, and really a lot of the activities that you're doing during the day are exercise activities, and can increase your fitness just by maybe increasing the time or thinking more closely about what you're working on. So some endurance activities, endurance activities is anything that increases your respiratory rate, or you feel your heart rate going up. and I listed some examples. You don't need to have, your heart rate checked. You don't need to have a Fitbit or a pulse ox or anything like that. You can tell if you're having difficulty breathing, if you're breathing a little faster, or if your heart rate is moving a little faster. Strengthening activities, you don't need to think about weights. Even if you're very, very weak, just floating on the water and moving your limbs up and down with the assistance of the water and the buoyancy. You can see in the other picture, this lady's using the assistance of the wall to help walk her fingers up the wall. So, you might feel like, oh gosh, I'm too weak to do any of these new activities. You don't have to have resistance of a weight or a band that's usually recommended when you read about fitness. You can use the resistance of water. You can use the assistance of water. And I even showed people putting your groceries away or putting your dishes away. That movement of your arms, you can think, okay, I did it, half the dishwasher with my left arm. I'm going to do half the dishwasher with my right arm to incorporate more exercise, strengthening to your day. And then we don't always think about balance exercises because they aren't a big flashy activity. But I kind of showed this picture because the lady's on one foot, she's reaching up, she's kind of challenging her balance. You'll need to talk to your professional about what activities are good for you, but even just reaching side to side, reaching up and out of your center of balance, reaching up, reaching to the side, just practicing safely. And our other panelists are going to talk about safety and how they work through that. But any balance activity is fabulous for people that don't want to fall and have the risk of fall injuries. And then the last one we want to talk about is flexibility. And we read a lot about stretching and doing large stretches, and really you can just turn your head right and left a couple times throughout the day to make sure you have that mobility. So when you're driving, you can really turn back and see what's behind you. So we don't have to think about stretching as really pushing or pulling on your limb, which you might not feel comfortable with. The other thing I think we need to remember for people that might be, have OI is don't let somebody else stretch you, or you need to verbally direct that stretching yourself so that nobody's pulling or pushing too much on your joints. So some benefits of physical activity, it's the Department of Health and Human Services came out with a really nice booklet of guidelines. They brought one out in 2008, and now there's a new edition in 2018. What they do is they compile all the research that's out there on exercise and the benefits of exercise and how much exercise is appropriate. So this might be a nice little booklet to look at. It also has a lot of information of how to incorporate those exercises into your day. So the first one is benefits of exercise in children. So with children, they looked at research, people did research on typically developing children. So now we don't really have the exercise guidelines for children with osteogenesis imperfecta, but looking at typical developing people, that these are some of the benefits that really have shown in research that exercise can help with. And they talk about bone health and weight, muscular fitness and cardiovascular, cardiorespiratory, that means your heart and your lungs, diabetes, heart disease. They also looked at cognition, which is really interesting. And that's a new one in the 2018 version, that they looked at cognition, and it was memory and function in active learning. And then it also decreases the risk of depression. In adults, we have a lot more listed. They're showing that research shows that exercise has immediate benefits and then also long-term benefits. So immediate is just after a short, vigorous activity, you notice immediate results in decreasing anxiety, helping with your sleep, and also decreasing your blood pressure. And term is if you're doing it for a longer period of time, you'll see changes in brain health, and that includes your risk of Alzheimer's, as well as your risk of depression and also anxiety with long-term. You'll see changes in your heart health. There's a lot of new research out on cancer prevention, and we'll talk about that in a minute, as well as healthy weight and bone health and improvements in balance and coordination. So this is new, and I just wanted to pop this in. This is new in the 2018 version. And these are all the cancers that are decreased at risk of all these cancers with exercise. So I thought that was, really interesting, and something to keep in mind as maybe a little motivator to keep you exercising. They also came out with guidelines of how much activity people need throughout the day and throughout the week. And I'll go into these a little bit more specifically, but you can kind of get an idea of, with the different age groups, different amount of activity to show benefits from exercise. And one thing they came out with in 2018 is they used to say we need 10 minutes of activity that increases our heart rate and our respiratory rate. And 2018's version, the research is showing you don't even need 10 minutes of exercise to make a difference in your fitness level. So that's another thing that I think people can think about when they're starting a program is you don't even need 10 minutes, just anything is helpful. The guidelines for children 3 to 5 years old is activity throughout the day, at least 3 hours. Incorporate any activity that your child and preschooler can do all through the day. And I think 3 hours of physical activity per day is even on the lower end. If you see toddlers, they're moving around constantly. So I think we need to keep that in mind with our kids that might be a little bit, it might have a little more difficulty with mobility. We really want to find some activities to keep them active throughout the day. Children and teens, 60 minutes every day. And kids might say, gosh, I can't work out for 60 minutes, but they can walk. They walk in school, they walk in and out from the bus, they might walk to the school bus, they might wheel those distances, they might do a exercise class in school. So I think it all builds up throughout the day. So it doesn't have to be, okay, I'm doing a 60-minute class. I'm moving throughout the day. And then during the week, adding anything that's muscle strengthening. Muscle strengthening would be, pulling yourself up on the bars in the playground, or climbing the steps, to the slide, or, pushing the laundry basket to get it to the laundry room. So any of those kinds of things. Bone strengthening activities is another one that they list for typical growing children, and that's really anything weight bearing. So that's another thing that you need to think about through the day is your child weight bearing and standing? Can your child weight bear through their arms? If they aren't standing, you can work to put pressure through their arms or their spine to increase bone strengthening. And then for adults, the guidelines are 150 minutes per week, moderate intensity. Moderate intensity, like I talked about, is you can still talk when you're doing the activity, but you can't really sing a big long song. Vigorous intensity would be, you can say a couple words when you're doing this activity. but you're not carrying on a long conversation. So we're talking about moderate intensity, 150 minutes per week. I looked at that and it's only a little over 20 minutes a day to just really get your heart rate going. And then 2 times a week, getting some muscle strengthening activities with that. And that's anything that we're doing with resistance that we talked about. I think the key takeaways from all this is, number one, start with your healthcare professional, talk to them about all those areas of exercise that we talked about, and talk to them about balance and endurance and strength. And then I think the fun one is a little bit is better than none. So don't feel pressured that you need to have a big, long activity or a structured game or sport or class. Any activity is better than none. Research has showed that with people with disabilities that they can incorporate activities that increase their heart rate and their respiratory rate. And then really the main takeaway is find something that you like and you enjoy and you're going to continue doing. Just have fun with it. And that's it. I know we'll have questions at the end. If anybody has questions, feel free to type them in the question bar, comment bar, chat bar. Thank you.
Thank you. And now I want to introduce Tony Jacobsen, who's going to be also talking about fitness and OI. Tony.
Hey, everybody, what's going on? Thank you so much, Michael. And to the OIF, let me just stop really quickly. I am so excited that this is happening. You guys know, everybody that is actually here that follows and is part of the group on Facebook and everything, you know how passionate I am about this. And I am so excited that this is part of the national conference. So I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I want you to open your chat box. I want you to make sure that your chat box is open because I want to interact with you guys. And I want to see right now, if you can hear me okay, type yes or a Y in the chat box, okay? Because we want to get this going. And it's all about fitness. It's all about exercise. So we're just going to start with a quick stretch wherever you are in your chair. Just get moving a little bit. Just move your hands a little bit. You can clap it up, whatever you want to do. Deep breath and let it go. All right. So again, thank you everybody for joining today. I'm excited to talk about mindset today. And throughout my fitness journey, I know that mindset has played such an important role in getting and staying healthy. So today I want to share a few of the many, many concepts that helped to pave the way for me. Now, it all started when I was a wee little lad. And I would constantly hear these 2 words, be careful. Now, seriously, I know we've all heard this. If you've heard this, type yes in the chat box right now. Be careful. Now, I literally thought it was my middle name because I would hear it all the time. I would go to, do something active and I would hear, Tony, be careful. I would go to play with my friends, Tony, be careful. Like I literally thought it was my middle name. And this was, unfortunately, played a negative role in my life as I got older, because for me, be careful meant to stop, don't continue. This is too dangerous, etc. Like it really started to play into that for me as I was younger. So I ended up having be careful running in a loop in my mind throughout the first 40 years of my life. Now, this, along with, other mental blocks that happened, played a major role in keeping me from doing anything physical for those really first 40 years of my life. I was stopping myself because I was scared. I didn't want to break anything. I wanted to be careful with everything I did, not just physical activity, but like literally everything. Be careful was running my world. So the first concept that I had to kind of do and change for my mindset was to redefine what be careful meant for me. And when it finally came to getting healthy, which happened for me when I turned 42, by the way, I knew this was one of the first things that I had to do because that was one of the things that stopped me. So I couldn't look at it anymore as something that needed to stop me, you know? I needed to redefine it. I literally had to erase it from my life. I wouldn't say it. I wouldn't say it to me or to anybody else. If anybody would say it to me, I would quickly put a kibosh on and say, nope, don't say that to me. So it was really kind of erasing it from my life to kind of bring it back in the way that I needed to bring it back in. So it was definitely something that I had to retrain my brain to, you know, as to what be careful meant. So that's kind of the first kind of mindset shift that I made. Now, the next kind of mindset shift that I had to make was constantly listing and focusing on the things that I couldn't do physically. So without having a why, with having a why, there was a huge list of things that, you know, are not possible for me. So I had to shift my thoughts from that list of what I couldn't do to what I could do. And this was a big thing for me when it came to exercise. Now, the list was short. The list was very short of things I could do when I started exercising. And over time, as I got stronger and healthier overall, that list started to grow. So the main key here is to never look at the list of things that you can't do. You always focus on what you can do, even if it's the smallest movements. Like Beth said in her presentation, any small movement, that's movement. That's getting everything going. So you got to focus on that. You know, this works when you're starting out, and it also works perhaps when you're recovering from an injury. You just can focus on what you can do and focus on keep on still moving. So I want you to take your list of things you can't do, and I want you to burn it. All right. If you're going to burn your list, I want you to type yes in the chat box. I'm looking right now. If you're going to burn your list of things you can't do, I want you to type yes right now. All right. That's right. Everyone's typing yes. Absolutely. I love to see it. We're going to burn that list. We're going to look at what we can do. So the next mindset shift, that's hard to say, mindset shift that I had to make was a simple replacement of one word in a sentence that I was saying. And that was changing the word when to if. So my thoughts and my words used to be when I break again. And again, having this thought always left me powerless to my OI, because it would always put into the future, well, when I break again, when I break again. But as soon as I changed that when to if, when I changed it to if I break again, this took away the inevitability of the break happening, and it gave me the power to try new things and find ways to push myself to achieve my fitness goals. So this is really key. This is a super tip right here. Changing that simple word to if I break again will change how you feel about exercise and how you can push yourself. So I'd like to mention one more concept for you today. And this is going to seem crazy because even when I kind of came up with this, I felt I was crazy. And this is what I like to call hyper-focused conscious movement. And it really is a mindset thing. It's being super tuned in to the way that we move throughout our day. Everything, just our simple movements throughout the day, and especially when it comes to exercise. It's really important. It's about making mind-muscle connection. It's about really paying attention to the way that we're walking if we walk, the way that we're pushing in our chairs when we push in our chairs, how we reach for things, how we are moving throughout the day. Because if we start to get in tune with that, then that's going to prevent injury, and it's going to help us avoid accidents. And this is so important to maintain our healthy bodies. And I know it sounds like a hassle because I felt like the same way when I started doing this. And it is, because you're literally thinking about your movement throughout the day. But it's totally worth it. And the more you do it with consistency, the more it becomes second nature. So like for me, I've been doing it for many years now, and it's just second nature. So it feels so good to do that because I've avoided injury, I've avoided accidents so that I can maintain my healthy lifestyle and keep going. So if any of these ideas are resonating with you, can I see some yeses in the chat box? Let's see them. Come on. Are you guys feeling this? The mindset, I mean, this is what it's all about when it really comes down to it. And it really comes down to working with the OI as opposed to working against the OI. That was a big thing for me. It wasn't about just, you know, proving OI wrong. It was literally, well, how do I work with my OI to become the strongest, healthiest, most powerful person I could be? So as I personally approach my 50th birthday at the end of this month, I've got to say that refocusing my life over the past 8 years towards a healthier lifestyle that includes exercise, it's really given me the confidence and the power to experience more of life over the past 8 years than I had in the first 42 years. And changing my mindset throughout has been an important part of the process, and it continues to be even to this day. So of course, you know, this session's only an hour. We have very limited time, and we're just scratching the surface of what's possible when it comes to changing our mindset, our feelings, and our thoughts around exercise with OI. So after this session and after the conference, I encourage you to visit my website, TonyJacobsen.com. Come over there, you can get my book. You can check out my brand new online fitness platform that I just launched, Unbreakable Body. There's so many great things over there, and you can reach out to me personally. We're going to take questions during this session, and I'm so excited to field some of those. So, you know, for me, it's all about getting out there, breaking barriers, not bones, and really learning how to be unbreakable together. So thank you so much for being here, and thank you so much for listening to me during this presentation. All right, let me get one more yes in that chat box. Are y'all feeling good today? Let's do this. Come on. Thank you so much.
Oh, Tony, thank you so much. Tony, Beth, and to all of the panelists, so thank you so much for being here. To everyone in the chat, so I've been copying down some of your questions, and we're going to try to answer as many as we can. I want to jump in first. So now we want to transition to our Q&A period. And again, if anyone has any questions for the people with us today, feel free to write that into the chat, and we'll try to get to as many as we can. We got a little bit under 30 minutes. So I'm going to jump off talking about, so one sort of big question, I feel like this could be directed at all of our panelists actually, because one thing I really like about this group is that we have varied levels of physical activity and also OI experience represented with us today. So someone was asking, how important is it for people with OI to have a daily physical routine? But also, in that, we've kind of scratched on that question as well, but also, I would love to go around just to explain briefly, if you haven't already talked, also who you are and what is your daily or weekly fitness routine?
Well, I can start here.
Sure.
Sorry about that, Steffi. My name is Greg. I am Ted's son, as was alluded to at the very beginning of this session. My fitness routine. So I personally exercise sort of intentionally only 3 times a week. I don't try to do it every day. I find that my schedule gets too busy to do it on a regular basis. Spending a lot of time working at Mayo and all this stuff. So I do cardio. We've got a stationary bike in my apartment complex that I go down and I use twice a week for 20 minutes at a time or so. And then I do yoga once a week, which I've really been enjoying a lot. Other than that, my personal exercise experience mostly revolves around just the daily activity that I get. I can walk, so I do quite a bit of walking while I'm at work and just moving around the house, you know, doing daily chores or whatnot.
Yeah, I'll jump in too since I'm on the same setup here. So I'm Natalie, good to see you all. So I enjoy exercising. I try to do it on a daily basis, even though, you know, I might only do it in smaller quantities compared to Greg. cranking out the 20 minutes on the bike. I find myself, trying to do a couple sets of crunches each day because I've had spinal fusion and have a lot of weakness in my core. So really targeting areas of my body that perhaps because of my OI or maybe just because of my lifestyle, I might need to strengthen a little more. So I do those crunches. I've also really gotten into yoga. Greg and I sort of made that discovery together during quarantine, that like putting on a YouTube video, yoga with Adrian, and being very cautious and confident to sort of follow the model, but then adapt it based on what my body tolerates, what's going to be healthy for me. I think we both learned how important it is to really adapt whatever you see to yourself. And I think even with different people, different forms of OI, and even just the individual, it's so important to be ready to embrace that within your exercise routine. So I really like yoga, really like doing those core strengthening exercises. And I've actually gotten into doing a little bit of kickboxing recently as well. Not using any kind of contact, right? But just going through the motions of like moving my arms, keeping my legs and hands and body active. I have really enjoyed that and found that like that's a good way to keep my heart rate up, get my heart rate up, even if I'm obviously not going to make any contact, because I know that would be a good match for me in my exercise routine. So I think it's really cool to hear from all different people and to learn about the diverse ways people have of exercising, because just as we're all very diverse individuals and our OI is diverse, but also our lifestyles are diverse and our interests are diverse. So cool to learn from one another and to hear about things other people are doing too. Looking forward to it.
Great, thank you both so much. I want to jump to Steffi next.
Hi, everybody. So can everybody hear me?
Sound good.
All right. So I was already introduced. My name is Steffi. I am an adaptive fitness trainer. And if you have seen me around social media, I'm always trying something new. I see a lot of people in the chat asking, how do you do this? How do you work out from your wheelchair? What kind of hand cycle do you recommend? A lot of those questions, I do demonstrations on my YouTube channel as well as my Instagram. And I think a lot of those questions can be answered there. I am a full-time wheelchair user, so all of my workouts are either going to be in the wheelchair or on the floor, or maybe in the actual gym equipment that I sometimes use. So my routine, I usually work out 3 to 4 times a week. Now, keep in mind, I have built my resistance up to it. So I definitely didn't start there, but I do cardio once a week. It's my least favorite, unfortunately, but I know I have to do it. And it's also the shortest one. I limit myself to 20, 25 minutes of it. I think a little bit of it has to do with the fact that I do have asthma, so I do get tired a little bit sooner than anyone else. But I do cardio once a week, and I divide my workouts to upper body one day and lower body the other day. I do work with weights, so that's why I divide the workouts into different days. Those workouts do range anywhere from 30 to 45 minutes. Again, I have built up my resistance to it. And the fourth time I leave it up to, something different every week so that I can keep it exciting. Sometimes it's swimming. Sometimes I have recently gotten into boxing. Again, it's no contact. It's me against the bag. So I'm gonna win. And it's been awesome. It's been extremely challenging. I definitely recommend that if you feel up to it, and even if it's just one punch that you throw, it's an amazing workout for your entire body. And all of my routines include this big old thing of water, because it's the most important thing you have to do. You have to keep yourself hydrated.
Yep. That is a giant water bottle.
Yes, it is, but I'm also small, so no, it is really big.
Yeah, it's pretty big for anyone. Thank you. Tony, I know you sort of talked upon this before, but would you like to go into a little more detail?
On a routine?
Yeah, like kind of like where are you at today on sort of what you're, so people kind of know where you're coming from, because also you're a personal trainer.
Yeah, so for me, like I said, I didn't I've never really worked out until I really started training about 8 years ago. And so I went through a huge transformation where, I dropped 40 pounds. I started actually jumping. My feet actually left the ground for the first time. I started running, which was something that I had never done. So that was a huge transformation for me at that time and really catapulted me into this lifestyle. Since then, it's been about 8 years. And truth be told, it is a roller coaster. I mean, it's up and down. You got to pay attention to everything as you go. Even as a trainer, I have trainers. I mean, it's important to seek out assistance and get help. Don't be too proud to think you know it all. I mean, especially when it comes to this stuff, we don't as OIers. I mean, we know a lot about our bodies, but when it comes to incorporating the fitness and exercise and how to move to work out that muscle, how to think differently about it. I mean, you can use someone like me, you can use a physical therapist. There's other trainers that can help you to do that and really guide you in the right way. So for me, it really is about continuing to learn and continuing to do my own thing as well. So, I mean, I'm exercise. I go through spurts. So there's times where I'll exercise 5 days a week. There's times when I'll do 3 days a week. There's times when I won't exercise for 2 or 3 weeks, but I'm always doing physical activity. So whether it's being out hiking, taking walks, just moving as much as possible, just moving around the house, just doing chores. I do a lot of sitting for my video editing job that I have as well. So I find that, throughout the day, I'm like, well, I got to get up. I got my Apple Watch. It tells me time to stand up, man. It's time to get up. So I'm constantly listening to my watch and I'm like getting up, walking around. I do some squats. I do some like whatever I can, couple push-ups, and then I get back to work. So it really is. And now with my new platform, I'm excited because I'm going to be shooting and I'm doing videos of a lot of workouts. So it's actually going to keep me motivated to continue producing content, and I get some good workouts in and be able to provide workouts for everybody else. So yeah, it's really all over the board for me at this point, but it just is all about just continuing to move, finding new ways to move, and just watching what I do, really being connected.
Great, thank you so much. I actually want to then, on a similar note, so this question came from actually in our planning meeting for this conference, and we were talking about what preparations people do before you start to work out. So I think about it in terms of, okay, let's say you attended the session or you're just thinking like, I would love to get some exercise in. I'd be curious if anyone wanted to share about their experience about before I start a workout, however you define that, what are some things that you as a person with OI, as a community member, think about that you think are sort of particular to you as a person with OI or for you just as an individual?
So this is something really important for me. So I'd like to start. I am on my own most of the time. So I've had to become really good at doing logistics to make sure that everything is planned out to the point where I don't need help, not because people won't help me, but because sometimes there's no one around. So I make sure that I have this watch on. This watch will allow me to make an emergency call if I need to, if I happen to take a fall, if I happen to hurt one of my arms and can't reach the phone, you have somewhere to, a method of calling. I always make sure that I have a towel with me, a hand towel, because your hands are going to get sweaty sometimes. And that may put you in danger of transferring back to your wheelchair, transferring back to wherever you are. You need to make sure that your hands are not sweating. If you do work with weights, you need to make sure that those weights are at a level that you don't have to reach them from above. So you're not in danger of having them fall on you, land on maybe your lower body or something like that, that they are not lower to where you are, so you're not bending over from your wheelchair and perhaps take a fall. So make sure that all of your equipment is at a can reach distance and at a level where you only have to do this, not this or this. And make sure that you limit yourself to before you are completely wiped out, because as a wheelchair user, you are going to need a little bit of extra energy to get yourself back in the chair, to get your equipment, to wrap it up and make it home or take your shower, anything like that. You are going to need a little bit of extra energy. So make sure you don't work out to the point that, you can't transfer back to your wheelchair. And I think that's about it. We all know our bodies. We are all in tune with what we can do with perhaps how much weight you can lift, if you can lift any weight at all. And I think it's really important, as Tony said, work with your OI. It is part of who you are. It is not your enemy. It is here to stay. And I think the bigger goal is to learn how to deal with it. The OI will allow me to do this, so I will be kind enough not to go overboard. That's about it.
Thank you. Would anyone else like to add upon that?
I don't know. I feel like that was a fairly comprehensive review. Steffi, great thoughts there. Just to reiterate a few points, right? When I go down to exercise, I just make sure that I keep my phone near me, or that, Natalie is still in the apartment, so that, I have a way of calling for assistance if anything goes wrong. That's, sort of the number one precautionary measure that I take is I go in for exercise.
Yeah, I think also we've got cats that become very interested in receiving pets when they see you like standing up and active. So being conscious of them, placing them in a different room, or figuring out the safest way to sort of position where I do my workout in our house to make sure that there's not those extra tripping hazards, making sure there's plenty of space around also, so that if you do any exercise where you're sort of extending your arms or your legs, you're not going to make contact with a solid surface. I don't know, those are things that I think I've grown more conscious of as I get into kind of a routine.
Great, thank you so much. I want to, so we're getting lots of great questions from the audience. Thank you all so much. I want to jump to one question that is asking specifically about swimming. And I want to direct this first at Beth Jacks, but if other people want to jump in as well, feel free to. So one thing that I know a bunch of our medical professionals have talked about is swimming for people with OI. And Beth, I was just hoping if you could elaborate on that. Is that, so this person's asking, is swimming in water the safest form of exercise for people with OI? And I guess for me, the answer is, do you have any sort of, can you just kind of elaborate on that first? Yeah.
Well, first of all, I think with everything with OI, it depends. If you have access to water, if you feel it's safe, getting in and out, and the environment around the outside of the pool is safe for you. And it's, you've talked to your physician about your fitness level. Pretty much everyone says water is one of the absolute best places to be able to move. And I know the question was about swimming, but I think just moving in water is a really, really safe option for people with OI. You get the buoyancy of the water to help you stay upright if you're working on upright activities or balance activities. You also get the resistance of the water throughout your entire limb versus adding a weight or putting it at your hand, so it's more distal. So there are huge benefits. A lot of people that might be power chair users are questioning, how do I get my heart rate up? just lying in the water and moving your limbs, making your muscles work will increase your heart rate. You don't need to know swimming strokes. I mean, you need to be safe, but you don't need to, know any fancy strokes or a flip turn. So that's why I feel like water works really well for everyone if they feel they're safe in that environment. And if they talk to their, physician about it, you want your heart and lungs to be capable of that activity.
Great, thank you. Well, we're getting so many questions. I'm kind of curious. So we had other questions in the chat about talking about, so this was more focused on kids, but I could see this as a large question as well. People are asking about, like, are there certain sports that they're asking about kids with OI that they can participate in, but I would actually expand that to, are there sports or activities that you feel that people with OI can participate in overall, any age group, or that you participate in specifically?
I don't do too many sports, but I have specifically played basketball before. Like, I used to play wheelchair basketball for a little while. So for me personally, when I'm working with anybody that has OI, it really is, again, what do you feel comfortable with? So I know that as kids, like when we're in those younger years, we're more susceptible to fracture. So, growing up during that time, maybe it's not the super contact sports, but every single OIer is different. So we have to remember that there is no blanket answer to that statement. You can't just be like, okay, just go play football, because every single person is different. So it really is just knowing what severity someone is at, where you're at personally, and what you feel you can do, and really just gradually working up into those things. So for me personally, if it's, if I wanted to play basketball now, I'd do it standing, and I'd try my best to kind of run around the court. Playing tennis, I played pickleball like recently. Pickleball, like, it's a miniature tennis. It's between ping pong and regular tennis. It's really weird, but it was fun, and I was able to kind of move around the court and play, and and I didn't get injured, and it was fun. And that, like Beth was saying, you got to choose something that's fun. So yeah, that's what I would say. You really have to, every single person is different. There is no kind of blanket answer for that.
Can I ask specifically about your experience with wheelchair basketball? Did you play that against other people with OI, or was that with a broader wheelchair using group?
Yeah, no, there was nobody else with OI. So I only played for a little while. I think I did end up getting injured. I think I broke my arm in a game. Gosh, it was a while ago, so I don't remember. But yeah, it was very short-lived. I was the only person with OI, and it was about being very careful, because it gets pretty brutal. People are bumping and banging and tipping chairs over, and it gets really crazy. So, again, it's really up to the individual. But yeah, I was not playing specifically with other OIers.
If I can throw in a thought there, particularly on the basketball front, it does not need to be high contact like that. So when I was a kid, and some more recently, I did not play on an actual team, but just me and my friends would go out and play basketball with each other. And my friends also do not have OI, but they know me very well. And we just played a very low contact version of basketball, right? Really getting up in each other's faces or anything like that, just passing the ball back and forth. And having some fun with each other. And that was a really good way to get some exercise. A few other things that I've done as far as sports go, I saw this came up in the chat a couple of times. Bowling is one that I really enjoy. I've tried golf. I'm really bad at it, but that's another very low contact kind of sport that I really enjoy. And kayaking and canoeing. I live in Minnesota. We've got a lot of lakes and things like that up here. So I've spent a lot of time, out on the water, and that's another really good way to get some time out in the sun and get a little bit more exercise in that way as well. So, Anything you want to add to that?
I think that's good.
Great, thank you. I just want to let everyone know that, so we've got a few more minutes left for questions. So just if you want to type your questions into the chat, that is how we're going to answer them. I appreciate it. So real quick, let me look through some more. Could we talk a little bit more about, so I think some people are bringing up some very good ideas, particularly around, we're getting a bunch of questions from wheelchair users asking for to sort of like spice up their workout routines. We know that a bunch of activities are not necessarily the most accessible, and even for things, say, like available on YouTube, may not be the most accessible to be modified for wheelchair users. I would love for people to share their experiences of like things they do to sort of help switch it up for them when they're feeling like, oh, I can't quite do this, or like I'm just getting bored of it. As well as I want to acknowledge, and some people brought this up, that particularly in the past year, between COVID and social distancing and gyms closing down, access to swimming and pools may not have been the easiest, and it still may not be the easiest option for many people. Even though we're saying we highly recommend it, it's a great option for many people. So I'd love for people to talk about, particularly the wheelchair users, like what are things you do to either adapt exercises for yourself or to sort of change up your routines?
Well, for me, the only wheelchair workouts that I don't do from my actual wheelchair, because I'm comfortable enough to get on the floor. So that's the only time that I'm not doing all of my workouts in the wheelchair. I do have methods that I can demonstrate how to do it in the chair, and I also do it outside of the chair, however you feel more comfortable. But really, there are so many workouts that you can adapt to your wheelchair. I know a lot of people say that power chair users get less, workouts in, get less. That's not necessarily true. You just need to find a way to get your heart rate up. Even if it's hand cycling, even if it's some cardio in your wheelchair, it's definitely possible.
So not being wheelchair bound for much of my life, being able to walk around, although there have definitely been periods, of course, when recovering from a fracture, when I still want to stay active, but am not able to walk. That's kind of where I'm coming from. I just want to say that like seated workouts have been some of the most grueling that I've done as I've experimented in the past couple months. Especially like, again, I'll mention the core because from other people that I've talked to with OI, strengthening the core is always going to be of interest. And, just looking up, like saying the specifications of, okay, I want to do a seated exercise, but I want to focus on the core, or when I want to focus on my hip adductors because I know those are weak. It's incredible how much, putting in those specific keywords will yield really good results, and like several different options with several different channels. I was sort of off put from experimenting with that at first because I thought, most of the stuff I'm going to find is going to be constructed for like elderly people, or it's going to be geared towards, nursing homes or something like that. But no, I found stuff that's like incredibly incredible with the way just the workout was. Okay. And I'm using a lot of adjectives because it was really good. So I was impressed with that. I thought that was really cool. I also just want to say, I saw in the chat people talking about, exercise and school and kids maybe, or adults who are interested in participating in a team sport like swimming. I just wanted to jump in really quick to say, as somebody with OI who was on my high school swim team, I found that just explaining things to my coach and being in good communication with them, they were willing to meet me where I was at, and that was regardless of my skill or time with speed in swimming. So I think like just being the advocate that you are, you know, the best advocate for yourself, I think that that can be a major factor in making sure that you get the workout that you need, whether that's in something like swimming or whether that's in something like adapting the right workout to your body.
Great, thank you so much. I
Can
want
I
to
add
be,
something, Michael?
yes, we'll make this the last comment.
Yeah, just very quickly, I want to tell everybody that, yeah, you have to just understand that, you know, what might look like a warm up in a workout, something that you might see on YouTube or anything, that's could literally be your exercise routine. So just the smallest movements, just starting to move is what's most important. Don't worry about like looking at people lifting weights and all that stuff. Look, our arms actually weigh something by themselves. So if you're just moving your arm, you're actually lifting some weight. So you just have to know that just starting, just getting moving just a little bit. Everybody that uses a wheelchair, you know, even a power chair, yes, you can start to move your arms and hands in different ways. So it's just about kind of experimenting and really not getting carried away with how you're watching other people do it. Just make sure you're doing something and starting to move. And again, reach out for help and assistance on how to move for you specifically. So again, physical therapists, trainers, me, you know, your doctors, all that stuff. So I just wanted to say that.
Great, thank you so much. So I want to be mindful of time. So thank you to all of our panelists and speakers today. This is a topic that is, you know, the OIF is trying to put more effort into talking about at our events and in programming. So we appreciate you all being with us today. I know some of our speakers have put some of their, like, where to find them for those who have various social media and websites. So you can find them there in the chat comments. And thank you all for being with us. I know that right now the mild OI forum has just started a few minutes ago, so you can join that. And we have a few more sessions throughout the day as well. Thank you all so much. Have a great day and a great weekend, and we will hopefully see you soon.